Welcome to the Alive Loren Podcast and the place of celebrating juicy, soulful, whole, full-bodied living and being and presence and breathing and witnessing. I have some tidbits to share. This is quite like improv inspired. So I had 2 doses of improv this week with the weekly class on Monday. And then there was like a drop-in, which is like a once a month kind of opportunity for anyone to experience. And God, I still don't even know how to define what it is. It really is. It's like the opportunity to be a kid all over again. So along this theme, the other day I was with my son in the park, and there was this little toddler, but like at the age where they just start walking. And someone had a dog. And this dog was like wandering around slowly, and this toddler was so excited and enamored with this dog. It was just like, when the little legs, they're more like a puppet. When the knees bounce up, 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 and the little arms are like out to the side. And they just started, the glee and joy on this child's face, and the little like giggles, like so deeply. Oh my God, that child was nowhere but in the present moment, like running around this dog with such joy, was so fascinated by this dog and the movements and the like little squeals of joy and the face, so alive. And oh my God. And then in a moment, the little one like toppled over. And there's this moment of almost like seeing what the adult reaction is going to be. But it was just so deeply present. And then I was thinking how, like as kids, we just spontaneously play. And it is, when you watch kids, it's not about toys. Kids can have boxes and pots and pans and nothing, and everything becomes something, and it's endlessly fascinating. And the world is just so full of wonderment and So improv for me is this like reconnecting to that, because you literally don't know, and there's no planning. It's the most incredible. Okay, so I'm walking, and there's some crazy dog, mad dog, that like hurled itself half over the wall, going manic with me walking by. So, where we were, this like deep, childlike presence. What I was saying was, it is the most incredible container for physically, what I love about it also, oh my God, how do I say all of this at once? So often when an exercise is explained, they reach a point where just stop explaining and let's just start doing it, because the learning is going to come from the experience, because sometimes it just sounds so like abstract and weird that the best way is actually just to start demonstrating and start doing. Which is like also with life, there's so much, it's like not about the theory of stuff, it's about getting into the practice of it. And I know I'm coming back to the 10,000 hours with Malcolm Gladwell, but it's like, and I am going to, this one again, where you had the elitist of the best musical students, who all had the most phenomenal natural ability. And what differentiated those who ultimately were like a genius from all the others who also were like way above what anybody, ordinary like person would ever get to, was the amount of time that they physically practiced. So it's not about any of the theory, and I love that. I love that it's an opportunity to physically experience not planning and just letting go of control, because that's the thing with life. The control thing is such an illusion. To be present in every moment so deeply and fully, to listen to what is the moment like requiring of you in the moment, because, oh my God, it's like, when you practice and practice and practice, and when people do perform and they practice their lines and you practice to the point where you know it so well you don't even have to think about it anymore, that you can actually just live it and surrender to it, and then something beyond like takes over. Because there's no I know it's kind of, I'm trying to express a whole bunch of things coherently when they kind of all overlap. So we've got the childlike spontaneity and presence with that toddler. And now we've got this opportunity to experience, with no planning, being deeply alive and present in a moment where you don't know what's going to happen. And that is in life. We literally don't know from moment to moment what's going to happen. But if you just trust, and like today was a drop-in, and there were some people who hadn't done it at all before, and how everyone was still it just worked amazingly, and things landed up getting funny. And big principle is yes and, where you support and agree with things, where there can be a no, but it's generally in service of the act and and it's such an amazing thing energetically, because most times in real adult life, it's yes, but. And then I went to like a drag show afterwards, and in between the songs, some of the artists would like riff with the audience. And what I noticed was the humor in the riff was born out of yes and. It was because they would go with statements as opposed to yes, but, and argue. And it was precisely because they played into it that everyone was laughing. So that was also just so beautiful. And there's so many, so like yesterday's one, there was the craziest way that it went, that I was in the scene where someone ended up being my mom, who was telling me that I make the most terrible noises when I eat chicken wings. And instead of the natural inclination to deny and yes, but, and to resist and say no, but I don't, the humor comes out of like going with the flow. So then it was like, yes, I do make crazy noises, but it was more like, instead of that, for my mom, they were awful, but just spontaneously in the moment, there came this idea that for other people, they actually sound amazing, and it's like music to their ears. And it landed up going in this crazy direction of me saying that I'd been offered a record label to record my chicken munching sounds. And it was all out of just going with the flow, which also reminds me, my kids did judo for a while, and not that I know the deep judo philosophy, but it's very much about not resisting and going with the flow of like a force that's coming at you, which then again comes back to life, where, one of Mickey's favorite lines, that it's not the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. And that bothering ourselves is the resistance to the moment that's in front of us, as opposed to just going with it, just flowing with it. So many beautiful things overlapping and flowing. So grateful for that. And there was another section as well where we were in some like Spanish-speaking place, and we had to kind of make up a name of a character. And like cilantro is a big part of Mexican or like South American cooking. And I landed up, getting up there, and I'd made, like, my name was Selena Lantro. And it was just like being just in the moment of actually not knowing what's going to happen. And it's so incredible to actually physically experience how just flowing with scenarios and playing into them and just creatively being open in the moment, it's like there are these little whispers of things, and the most amazing magic unfolds. And it's not because it's of premeditation, and it's not because of forcing an agenda, because that's also the thing, that people can come into a scene with an idea of a way it's going to go, and it can end up going a completely different way. But if you play into the yes and go with it, and go with the next person, and go with the idea, no matter how ridiculous, just energetically, there's a totally amazing, different feeling. And how much more so to live life. So, on this, like, improv-inspired note, precious soul, may we invoke and connect more to our childlike spontaneity. And really in the moment, I got to add this as well, because sometimes with my mom, sometimes with those nearest and dearest to us, bless the way this whole like spiritual choreography works, that often those closest trigger the most. And it was just also this like letting go and coming fresh, because in improv you finish a scene and you let go, you just let go. And then the idea of, even in life, letting go of interactions and things. So my mom and I had like a sort of an interaction that was a little bit tense, and just noticing that tendency for me the next time I was calling to carry that tension, and witnessing that like wiring of carrying the tension with forward, as opposed to just letting it go and coming fresh to the new moment. And noticing that if there is something said, this tendency to want to yes but and play into yes and how much of a different energetic feeling and outcome and everything of the situation, from being more in flow than in resistance. So may we play with, I invite you, just play with yes and, just watch for the tendency to yes but, and it's okay, just like this whole light-hearted, laughing, humorous welcoming of the patterns that we notice and become aware of. So happy adventuring. May you enjoy and play with yes and. Mwah. Until we meet again, precious soul.